My name is Liana, and when I say everyone in my town knew me, I'm not exaggerating. People used to recognize me before I even spoke. I could walk into a grocery store, a cafe, a school hallway, and feel heads turning toward me instantly. Men would stare too long, women would whisper, girls would scan me from head to toe like they were trying to figure out what made me different from them. Ever since I was little, people treated me like I was something special. She's going to break hearts when she grows up. That face belongs in movies. She looks unreal. At first, I loved hearing those things. What little girl wouldn't? I grew up believing beauty was power. And honestly, it was. By the time I turned 15, I had become the girl everyone talked about in our town. Not the smartest girl, not the kindest girl, not the funniest girl, the prettiest. And somehow, that title followed me everywhere like a shadow. I still remember my first day of sophomore year. I walked into class late because my mother made me redo my hair 3 times before school. I wore a simple white shirt, black skirt, and white sneakers. Nothing dramatic. But the second I opened the classroom door, the room went quiet. Even the teacher paused mid-sentence. I hated that moment and loved it at the same time. The boys stared openly. One of them literally dropped his pen. The girls looked at each other before looking back at me with those fake smiles I would later learn to recognize instantly. That was the beginning. After that day, my life changed completely. Every morning, there were gifts inside my desk. Chocolate, flowers, letters. Some were sweet, some were creepy. One boy sprayed his cologne on an entire page and wrote, "You're the reason I even come to school." Another wrote, "If you ever smiled at me, I think I'd die happy." I used to read them in secret at night, hiding under my blanket while smiling to myself. Back then, attention felt addictive. I liked knowing I could walk into a room and own it without trying. I liked seeing girls copy my hairstyles days later. I liked hearing people mention me when they thought I wasn't listening. But attention has a dark side no one talks about, especially when you're a girl. The jealousy started quietly, whispers when I passed by. Girls laughing suddenly and stopping when I looked over. Fake rumors online. Anonymous accounts posting edited photos of me. One day, I walked into the girls' bathroom and heard 2 girls talking about me without realizing I was inside. She's definitely had work done. Please. Pretty girls are never naturally, and her personality is disgusting. I stood frozen behind the stall door because I had never even spoken to them before. That's when I realized something terrifying. Some people will hate you simply because your existence makes them insecure, and no matter how kind you are to them, they'll still want to tear you apart. By junior year, things got worse. The boys became more obsessed. The girls became crueler. There was a guy named Mason. He was the captain of the football team. Popular, rich, charming, the type every girl dreamed about. And suddenly, he became obsessed with me. He waited outside my classes, bought me coffee every morning, posted indirect quotes about me online. At first, I thought it was flattering. Then it became uncomfortable. When he asked me out, I rejected him politely. I expected him to move on. Instead, he turned my life into hell. Within days, rumors spread around school that I had begged him to date me. People said I was manipulative, attention-seeking, easy. Girls who already disliked me suddenly had a reason to openly attack me. One morning, I arrived at school and found the word slut written across my locker in black mark. Everyone stared while I cleaned it off myself. Not one person helped me. Not one. I smiled the entire day, pretending I was okay. Then I went home, locked my bedroom door, and cried until I couldn't breathe. The funny thing is, everyone thought my life was perfect. Even adults treated me differently. Teachers assumed I was dumb before I spoke. If I got good grades, they said I probably flirted for them. If I answered a difficult question correctly, people acted shocked. Once in physics class, I solved a problem nobody else could solve. A girl behind me laughed and said, "Pretty girls aren't supposed to be smart too. Pick a struggle." The whole class laughed. Even the teacher smiled. That moment stayed with me for years because no one saw me as a person. Just a face. A beautiful face people either desired or hated. Nothing more. But the truth? I wasn't innocent either. Part of me enjoyed the attention. I liked being admired. I liked entering rooms and feeling powerful. Beauty gave me opportunities most people could only dream about. At 17, a modeling agency contacted me through Instagram. I thought it was fake at first. Then they flew me to the city for a photo shoot. I still remember stepping into the studio for the first time. Bright lights, makeup artists surrounding me, photographers complimenting every angle of my face. You were born for this. Your bone structure is insane. You could become huge. For the first time in my life, I felt important for something beyond school gossip. My social media exploded after that. Thousands of followers, brand deals, free clothes, invitations to parties, people asking for pictures with me in public. I should have been happy. But somehow, I felt emptier than ever because none of it felt real. Every friendship felt fake. Girls only stayed close to me for status. Guys only wanted to date me because of how I looked beside them. Even my own reflection started to feel like a mask. I became paranoid. I stopped trusting compliments, stopped trusting people. I would stare at myself in the mirror at night wondering, if I lost my beauty tomorrow, who would still love me? And deep down, I already knew the answer. Almost nobody. Everything changed on my 18th birthday. I threw a huge party. Hundreds of people came. Music blasted through the house. People crowded around me all night telling me how stunning I looked. I wore a long black dress that made everyone stare when I walked downstairs. For hours, I smiled, posed for photos, laughed at jokes. I looked happy. But around midnight, I went upstairs to escape the noise for a moment, and that's when I heard them. 3 girls talking in the bathroom. One girl laughed and said, "She thinks everyone loves her." Another replied, "They don't love her, they're obsessed with her face." Then the third girl said something that shattered me completely. "Imagine if she woke up ugly tomorrow. What would she even have left?" Silence. I stood there frozen outside the door because for the first time in my life, I didn't have an answer. After that night, something changed inside me. I started avoiding mirrors, started wearing hoodies and oversized clothes, started questioning everything about myself. Then came the school talent show. Everyone assumed I'd somehow still become the center of attention. But I didn't even participate. I sat quietly in the back row while people performed. Then a girl named Nora walked onto the stage. Nobody cared about Nora. She was quiet, shy, almost invisible at school. No designer clothes, no makeup, no popularity, nothing people usually notice. Then she started singing, and suddenly the entire room changed. Her voice was breathtaking, not just beautiful, emotional, real. The kind of voice that makes your chest ache. The audience fell silent instantly. Even the boys who used to stare at me nonstop couldn't take their eyes off her. And neither could I. For the first time in my life, I felt invisible. And the worst part? I envied her, not because she was prettier than me, but because people were admiring something deeper, something permanent, something real. When she finished singing, the entire auditorium stood up clapping. I walked out before it ended. That night, I sat in front of my mirror for hours, looking at my face. The same face that opened doors for me. The same face that ruined my peace. The same face that made people desire me without ever truly knowing me. Then I started crying. Not softly, violently, like years of pressure were finally exploding out of me. That's when my mother walked into my room. She looked at me calmly, almost like she had been waiting for this moment my whole life. Then she said quietly, "Now you finally understand." I looked at her angrily. "Understand what?" Without answering, she walked to her closet and pulled out an old wooden box. Inside were dozens of photographs. She handed me one, and my heart nearly stopped. The woman in the picture looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same smile, same beauty. I looked up slowly. My mother smiled sadly. "That was me," she said. "Oh, I was the prettiest girl in this town before you." I couldn't speak. I just stared at the picture while my mother sat beside me on the bed. Then she said something that changed everything, and it destroyed my life too. I turned toward her in shock. My mother had always seemed so calm, so ordinary, so far removed from everything I was going through. I never imagined she understood me, but she did more than anyone. She told me everything that night, how men used to fight over her, how girls spread rumors about her constantly, how teachers treated her differently, how beauty made her feel powerful, until it became the only thing people cared about. Then she told me about my father, or rather, the man I believed was my father. "He wasn't your real father," she said quietly. I froze. "What?" "He married me because of my beauty. That's all he ever loved." I felt sick. My mother looked away before continuing. When my looks started fading after pregnancy, he changed completely. According to her, he became cold, distant, cruel. Then one day, he left, just disappeared. And the worst part, I barely remembered him because the man who raised me after that, the gentle, loving man I called Dad, wasn't biologically related to me at all. He stayed, my mother whispered, even when he had no reason to. I started crying again because suddenly everything made sense. The difference between obsession and love. One disappears when beauty fades, the other stays. Then my mother told me the final truth, the real plot twist. Nora, the girl from the talent show. She was my half-sister. Same biological father, different mothers. I stared at her like the world had stopped spinning. What? My mother nodded slowly. Your father left me for her mother. I couldn't breathe. All these years? She was there. She never knew either, my mother said softly. Until recently. Suddenly every moment replayed in my mind. The way I envied Nora, the strange familiarity in her face, the feeling I had watching her perform. And then my mother said the sentence that stayed with me forever. You spent your whole life being loved for your beauty. She spent hers being loved for who she is. A week later, I met Nora alone. I expected to hate her. Instead, we sat for 3 hours talking like we'd known each other forever. And for the first time in years, someone looked at me without jealousy, without obsession, without expectations. Just honesty. That was the beginning of my real life. Not the glamorous one people saw online. Not the fantasy everyone projected onto me. The real one. The one where I finally learned that beauty can open doors, but it can never tell you who truly loves you once the lights turn off.